Hey everybody, how is everyone doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'd like to welcome you back to another chapter of my Stranger Things recap. This time is going to be about the second season of Stranger Things. So I hope you guys are excited for me to take you yet on another crazy adventure in the world of that franchise. So without further ado, let's get started. So Stranger Things this second season is set in the year 1984, and a whole lot of stuff has happened that decade. So we started in October the 28th, just a few days before Halloween night. And this is like in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This some girl and her gang had just evaded authorities, and she just used like her powers like trick the police thinking that there's like illusion, and we find out there's like a tattoo number of 8, which means there's like another person who has the powers of Elle but different. So we now transferred back to Hawkins, Indiana. Our main characters are doing pretty well, and I thought we could just finally just introduce some new characters. So first off, where Hawkins is being prepared for Halloween, we are introduced to Maxine Mayfield, or just Max. So she is new to the school, and she's from California, and she's probably got attention from the boys' attention, which consists of Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will. Who, by the way, Will Byers is back, and he's now part of the main cast after being rescued in the previous season. So it's a whole bunch of stuff happening. But meanwhile, Joyce Byers, aka who's Will's mom, she just reconnected with her old schoolmate, Bob Newby, who is played by yet the incredible and talented Sean Astin. Side note, he just became like president of SAG-AFTRA. Congrats to you, buddy. I'm proud of you. Anyway, we get back to Jim Hopper, the police chief of Hawkins, the police department, as he's investigating some stuff that is pretty suspicious. So the pumpkin fields are being rotten, and it's pretty much a bad sign. And immediately he suspects it's from Hawkins' laboratory, like the same place where Elle was from, and he's just really into like concerned what's going to happen. So Mike is definitely missing his friend Ellie, the girl of telekinetic powers. And Nancy's dealing with like the disappearance and also loss of her friend Barb from the last season. And I just want to add, I kind of feel bad for those characters. So meanwhile, Will Byers been having some hallucination stuff from the Upside Down, and this gets a lot interesting in later in the season. So while this is happening, Joyce decided to take Will to like Dr. Owens of Hawkins Labs, and Dr. Owens is this new character. He's probably like a Hawkins exec, and he's not like Dr. Brenner. He's like pretty different. He's kind of nice. So Owens theorizes that Will's having these PTSD things due to his experience and due to the Upside Down, and it's brought by the anniversary when he disappeared, and it's pretty shocking. I mean, I get it. You have like these traumatic experiences, you trapped in alternate dimension. I just didn't expect it to go at this height. But anyways, we go back to Hopper himself, and he goes home in his log cabin, which I'm surprised he changed locations after happened his held trailer home in season 1, where I was surprised to know that Elle is somehow alive, and I'm like shocked, like dang, that's where Elle is. How did she escape? And thankfully in the next episode we find out what happened. So after defeating that Demogorgon, Elle finds herself in the Upside Down. Thankfully she makes escape thanks to her telekinetic powers, and makes a hole enough for her to fit through, and she escaped and head back to Hawkins. But there are some governments after her. It's like the FBI or something. So she hides in the woods, and we cut back. Elle wants to go trick or treating to like possibly run into Mike, but Hopper reminds her to be safe and protected. And the reason why Hopper is doing this is because Hopper wants to make sure Elle is safe, and just make sure she's out of the eye of the authorities. So Hopper, Dr. Rowan is trying to figure a way to have Elle just try to live normally, just have some certificate or something. I don't know. But anyways, there was more problem with the pumpkins in the woods. It's like getting really worse at the point. It's like getting super bad, and it's pretty intense. So, anyways, Nancy just knows what happens to Barb, but Steve Harrington, who is like her ex-boyfriend now, he wants to avoid that the whole stuff happening, like have the authorities come after him, etc. And so Nancy goes to some Halloween party, but that's where she gets like down under. That's when Jonathan Byers, the kind brother of Will Byers, just takes her home. Like, that's pretty nice. I mean, I would do something pretty nice if a friend of mine was like down in the dumps, and I would help them out as best as I can. But anyways, so the boys are out trick or treating, and while Will is just roaming around trying to do something, he has another episode. He finds himself in the Upside Down, and it's just a lot of stuff. I feel bad for Will Byers, in my opinion. He doesn't deserve this. So the things are just getting worse, and then while Mike is helping Will at home, Will tells him about these episodes he's having. Like, somebody Upside Down, it's like he sees some monstrous enemy, and it'll be later review that's like the Mind Flayer, like this another Dungeons and Dragons kind of villain thing. They're like using all these Dungeons and Dragons villain things for each of the seasons, which is pretty interesting and ironic in my opinion. But anyways, so while Dustin returns home, he finds out there's like this little creature thing in his trash thing, and he decides to keep it. Before we get to that, we gotta talk about how Hopper managed to find Elle. So Elle's in the woods trying to survive, and then one day Hopper just finds her in the woods, and then he takes her to this cabin to keep her safe. And it's just like pretty interesting. Like, I get Hopper's trying to be like a good adopted father to Elle, and I just appreciate the acting from David Harbour and Millie Bobby Brown for this season. So Bob, who I talk about a bit, so Bob's trying to help Will just conquer his fear, and I just appreciate Bob trying to help out. He seems like a nice guy, and I could use a pretty good friend to have someone help out somebody who has a fear of something or having these terrible visions. That'd be pretty nice. So afterwards, Nancy and Jonathan want to like talk to Barb's mom about this without getting no from the authorities, and then try and explain her the real truth. So meanwhile, So Dustin has named that little demo slug named to Dart, and it's similar to D'Artagnan from the Three Musketeers, which is an old story thing, and it's also a name of a candy bar, Three Musketeers. It's a pretty good chocolate bar. I recommend you try it. So anyways, let's see. They decided, So Hopper is like trying to like find out what's really going on, and then after a bunch of stuff, frustration, and Elle just later finds out of that Hopper may be lying to her about what's going on. So Elle decides to sneak out of the cabin to look for Mike herself. And however, when Dustin brings the little slug creature to the school, he goes missing, and this forces the group to go after him. So Will, he just finds himself in the Upside Down. He tries and fails to stop the Mind Flayer from like going crazy at it. It ends in a pretty brutal scene, which I was like shocked when I saw it first time. I don't know if you guys, but most of the stuff in Stranger Things kind of terrifies me. Even though I'm like 21 now, I just like find it pretty shocking to this day. So afterwards, Joyce and the kids just manage to help Will snap out of it. And then after she takes him home, Will admits what's been happening, and it's just how like you're like getting attacked by something, and no one believes you until like a few minutes later, and it's pretty shocking, in my opinion. Not gonna lie, but I just want to know, like, it's just like really shocking whenever I see some stuff like this. So meanwhile, Elle just returns to the cabin. She and Hopper have a pretty big argument, which ends up with Elle just trashing most of the place, and it's just insane. So meanwhile, Will has been drawing like some scribbled drawings and stuff in it, and when I first saw it, I was like, what's he drawing? Then later it's like revealed to some kind of like a bunch of like crazy drawings and stuff. And I appreciate the art direction they were going for like these scenes. It was pretty interesting. So meanwhile, Nancy and Jonathan are captured after they tried me up with Barb's mom, and they're placed in the lab, and then the Hawkins lab, this portal thing expanded. It's like now deep underground. It's like pretty deep in between. And it's just pretty shocking how like it's interesting. So Lucas like trying to like get close to Max, like trying to be more than friends, but Max, she does not have a good home life. Like she has a mean brother named Billy Hargrove, who's pretty mean and kind of a real bully. He's like way worse like the season 1 bullies in my opinion. And it's just shocking. But meanwhile, back to Elle while she's typed the mess at Hopper's cabin, she finds like the Hopper's old research on Elle's biological mom, Terry Ives. So yeah, Elle's some person got abducted from her home to the lab, and then it's just a lot. So meanwhile, Dart broken out of Dustin's cage, and then this demo dog thing that would unalive Dustin's cat, and it's shocking and intense. I'm like, dang, this is why I do not. If I see like those demo things or like a demo dog, I would just unalive it immediately. I don't want it in the house because it's shocking and scary at the same time. So Hopper goes back to digging, and he finds that there's like a whole tunnel thing. It's like looks like the Upside Down. It's pretty terrifying, like a lost maze thing. So this unfortunately ends up trapping Hopper. He passes out, and then Mike is trying to be there for his best friend Will as he tries to comfort him. It's like a good friend. That's what I do. I'm pretty good friends with my people I know. So while Will's resting, he has a vision of Howard being trapped, and Bob, who is like a good map expert, he recognized like the paths and stuff. It's all a giant map of Hawkins. He managed to choreograph all this, which I'm pretty impressive. Like, this was 1984. There was no technology to explain my geographical maps, and it's pretty hard to do it like back in the 1980s and stuff. Thankfully, with technology, we have that today, and I'm impressed by it. But anyways, So Elle just goes to Terry's house, and that's like a friend of hers, Becky, and then so both of them have powers. So they go to Terry's mind. They find out like some pretty shocking things happened to Terry. So as you know, Elle was abducted to do like this human experiment project. So when Terry tries to save Elle, she gets captured. She gets shock therapy, which causes her brain to go a bit on edge by Dr. Brenner. And Elle learns there was this another girl like her, which explains back to that. So that's Elle. But meanwhile, as Joyce, Bob, Will, and Mike rescue Hopper, and then under the tunnel, some scientists try to burn up, and this is the shocking part. Whenever the scientists just do some damage, like in the tunnels, it has that connection to like Will's body. Like he has a feeling of that. It's like something's like controlling him, and it's shocking, in my opinion. So meanwhile, they're rushed to Hawkins' lab, where Will just like that this. So Dr. Owens finds out that this It's like this virus thing controlling Will. It's like has a connection to the monster, the Upside Down. It's just shocking in my opinion. So if you didn't know, I forgot to say this, but Nancy managed to record some stuff in Hawkins' lab about Barb, and we then meet this character, his Harry Baldwin. He's like those conspiracy theories trying to find out what's this and that. He's like one of those things way back then in the 1980s. It's just interesting in my own opinion. So they just try to like find out what's going on. They managed to send this out to some officials, trying to frame like what's happened with the Hawkins lab, and I just find this plot line pretty interesting. So Dustin, Steve, Lucas, and Max try to lure Dart into like the abandoned junkyard, try and unalive it. But when the scientists who are deep underground try to like destabilize the monster thing, it just like causes the demo dogs to go after the scientists and sadly unalives them all, which is pretty shocking in my opinion. I was like shocked. It's like a brutal scene. So yeah, then suddenly the demo dogs decide to climb up to the lab to try and cause a crazy hellish there. But then we're like to a side story. So Elle just makes it to Chicago, Illinois to like find her sisters. And we later find out that the sister to Elle is Kai. That was seen like in the opening of season 2. So Kai's a pretty different power than Elle's. So while Elle can do telekinesis powers, Kai can project images in people's minds, and she just like create illusions, which is pretty cool. So Kai has his own gang to like go after the Hawkins scientist who does some things to them, and it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like this rebel group, and I like this montage. It's pretty intense. But afterwards, when Elle just goes and like finds out that her friends are in danger, she decides to leave Chicago, abandon her plans to be with her lost sister, and while Kai and her gang escape from the police. So we now are at the final stretch, you guys. I hope you're still stick with me because there's a lot more. So the demo dogs attack the lab, and then a lot of scientists are unalived, and the power goes out, which forces Bob to go into the break room to reset everything and get everything back up. And he managed to do it pretty well, and looks like he may get out of this, but sadly he doesn't. And he ends up getting unalived by the Demogorgons. And it's pretty shocking. So, after all this, the gang escapes. Everyone's regrouped. They hope they all get back, try and regroup and figure out a new plan. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff happening. But when some so yeah, Will is like they tie up Will to try just find a way to help him out, and then Will does like a little Morse code thing, which translates to close gate. But as the demo dog's about to close in, they are luckily stopped by Elle, who managed to reunite with the whole gang, and everyone's happy to see her again. So afterwards, Mike confronts Hopper, and there's like a whole emotional scene between him and Hopper. It's just pretty intense. And I find the actors pretty amazing for this part. Props to them. And so Billy managed to find out where Max is, and he and Steve have a huge fight. But thankfully, Max managed to weaken her brother and tells him to leave. It's just pretty shocking. Props to actress Sadie Sink for that. She does great acting. But anyways, we cut back to So Joyce, along with Jonathan and Nancy, they tie Will up to try and make the Mind Flayer weak, because the Mind Flayer likes cold things while it's against the heat. While Hopper and Elle just go to the underground elevator, Hawkins' lab, to try and close the gate. And Elle unlocks her full powers. She managed to close the gate, and the Mind Flayer entity thing escapes Will out of his Will, and then Steve, Max, Dustin, Lucas, and Mike enter the tunnels to burn the core thing and just weaken everything. This leads to a pretty cool sequence. And then after all that happening, it's fine. It's been a month since everything went through. Dr. Owens facilitates Hopper's adoption to Elle as Jane Hopper, and then there's a whole winter dance. Mike and Elle start dating. Lucas and Max get together. Nancy dances with Heartbroken Dustin. So you may think this is the end. Nope, because the on the Upside Down, the Mind Flayer is planning something pretty cruel, and it's not good, which leaves the season on a pretty interesting cliffhanger that will be resolved in the next season. But yeah, that's all pretty much I gotta say about Stranger Things Season 2. Honestly, that I enjoyed that season. It has great story, great drama, and a lot of dark material. Before I go ahead, I want to let you guys know, by the end of this video, I won't be around to do other stuff. But I just want to let you guys know I'm always there for you all, and you guys are great. But enough of that. I just want to let you guys know that I enjoyed making this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys really soon. Bye.